And we're very good at measuring, was this done in the right number of days, with the right number of contacts met,
Activity.
and whether or not that leads to any constructive outcome really is not the issue. It's did the check marks go in the right boxes, and people are concerned about that, and rightly so, because that's what they get measured on. But we don't really do anything about measuring quality, about doing things more than just to check the box sometimes. Yep. And it really becomes, until somebody changes that, it really becomes incumbent on each individual to say, well, it's more, I have to do more than just check the box, and changing a system one individual at a time is really quite a challenge.
Yeah. If you want to be data driven, at the end, that's really where you want to be. I mean, you really want to be, it's not about using just evidence-based programs. It's about using evidence-based decision making. You know, that involves steps, assessment. It involves, you know, research. It involves programming. It involves, you know, training your staff. It involves evaluation, right? But to get there, you got to be data driven, and the data that's driving you is the stuff that's important, right? Not how many times you saw a kid, not how many of these contacts versus those contacts, not, you know, because I'm telling you, there's no data out there that says it makes any damn difference.
But it's been the only thing we've had to measure, so we measure, short of measuring nothing. But, you know, I didn't make this up, but, you know, someone said, well, you can get 100% on our audits, and you could have 100% recidivism at the same time, but you get an award for getting 100% on your audit. And there's something backwards about that.
First assessments, I got asked years ago, probably 20 years ago, some guys ran some programs in Jersey, some big group home kind of programs. And so I did a presentation, some breakfast at some meeting, and he was standing in the back. He said, I want you to come look at my programs, you know, how much it costs, blah, blah, blah. So I went there, I looked at his program. These were programs that the state held up every year as model programs. They scored 98% on all their audits and stuff. I went in there, they scored 30%. I mean, and I was kind. And these were, you know, they were nothing going on. And I remember, and he'll tell the story. He said, you know, first we were angry. Who the hell's this guy from Ohio coming in here telling us, you know, the state of, well, the problem was what the state of New Jersey would look at would be, right? How many square feet? Were the meals approved by a dietitian? Did you have laundry clean? Yeah, that's all important stuff. It has nothing to do with treatment. Because you're right, their recidivism rate could have been 100%. What did I go in and look at? Leadership, staff, assessment, treatment, QA, and they weren't doing anything. So it took him a while to get through that, but then they started to change. And he'll, you know, now he does presentations. He talks about, you know, how they work through that. But yeah, you've got to figure out how to start moving to intermediate measures that mean something. Now, how many kids are going to school? You know, how many declines in drug tests? How many, you know, assessments? Risk is going down. Measuring that other stuff isn't going to get you where you want to be. Because unless you got data that says it matters, I don't. Yeah.
This may be a little bit of a simple question, but
it's all right. I'm a simple guy. So
I still work on a 069 processor.
Yeah, I'm not that simple.
just so we know. I've been sitting here thinking, because you were talking about the process of the probation officer doing the behavior change with a client, because I want the juvenile to change a certain behavior. Then I hear you say, okay, but part of this program is that probation officer needs to change their behavior. So as a supervisor, it seems to me that the process, whether I'm working with a kid or the probation officer, the process is the same.
Process is the same.
Okay.
That's right.
The problem is, or the concern is, this is the program now, and how are we going to make it effective at this court service unit? And you do the same role modeling, you do the same problem
practice,
solving,
skills, training, coaching, reinforcement.
Okay.
And people will say to me, well, but I don't control this. But you know what? You control praise. You control acknowledgement. You can have client of the week. You can bring, having your staff meeting, say, you know what? Bill did a great job with this case the other day. I listened to the tape. Bill, why don't you get up and talk about how you worked with that kid? He was a tough kid, right? I mean, there's lots of ways to recognize your
Well,
staff.
the interesting thing is we still have this concept that we have this control over the kid.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have any more control over that kid than, I mean, your videos and your other things show, basically. Yes, we can do this and we can do that. But a lot of times what we're doing is we don't have control. We're in response to something that they do.
That's right. And we're trying, that's one of the things I've wrestled with a little bit with ethics. I want to make it even more proactive than just responding to a problem. All right, so I'm kind of thinking about that a little bit because I really would like to. But you're absolutely right about how we get staff to change and how we reinforce staff. I like staff, for example, the co-facilitate COG groups if you're doing it, because as they sit in, they start to hear this and they're hearing themselves. Minimize. How many staff minimize their behavior? Blame somebody else. It's not their fault. It's unfair. I mean, I go through the whole list. Humans do that, right? It's human. I learned it with my son. When my son played football, and we started when he was young, right? And I'd sit in the stands and I'd hear these dads, right? Screaming at the ref, screaming at the coach, right? And then I'd get in the car with my son and some of his friends, and I'd say to somebody, I'd say, so what do you think? And they'd say, the ref blew the game, you know, or this, and I'd say, you know, I didn't see the ref drop that ball. You know, I didn't see the ref miss that tackle. And I thought, it was easy to see where it was coming from, right? It was easy. And I always told my son, I said, you know what, you're responsible. I mean, you know, yeah, there's bad calls and all that, but at the end of the day, you know, you have to take responsibility. But you'd hear that, and then the parents would wonder why the kid was blaming. You know, it wasn't clear. But we all do that. We all do that. But I think staff have to buy in. Most people didn't get in this business so they could collect urine. You got in this business so you could help kids change behavior. Right? If punishment and strict enforcement was the best way to do that, I'd be telling you how to do that more effectively. The data says it's not. You know, are there kids that are really high risk, limit setters? You got to really, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But we also know it's a bell curve. There's a lot of kids that are in the middle, and that, you know, we can put their lives in the right direction and teach them some things that maybe keep them out of trouble. So that's what we're trying to do. What else you got? These are all easy. Any hard ones? Steph, you're about to enter a big change process. Right. What do you think are some of the big barriers you're going to face in Richmond?
Skill development and being able to actually, the application. You know, it's transfer of information into practice.
Yeah.
That's going to be very difficult for all of us.
Right. And you know, that's when we first started to think about this whole ethics thing, because POs understood the risk and need principle.
Yeah, they understand.
They didn't know how to translate.
Yeah.
But let me ask you, how about your network, your provider network? They going to jump right on board, or you got some people already complaining?
Leadership in the primary agency is going to direct that change. Have a strong collaborative partnership with the director, who's saying that this is going to be our baseline. This is the point where we're going to start, and we're going to overhaul everything we need to in order to improve quality. So I feel like that's a good starting point.
That is excellent starting point. Without that, it'd be a lot harder. Yeah. About some of those other contractors.
Yeah, the private contractors, I mean, it's up to them to decide if they're, first of all, going to isolate on a target group and practice evidence-based principles and incorporate them into their program, or they can choose to say, no, that's not what we want to do. We want to go to social service population or another population, which is fine.
No, I agree.
So, I'll give you an example. Stephanie knows about this one. So I work in Richmond now, and one of the first days on the job, maybe the first week, we had an outside provider, as we often do, come to a staff meeting and gave them the opportunity to do a presentation. And it was a very nice presentation, and there were many elements in it that were consistent with the information you've delivered, and they clearly have staff who've been trained now in motivational interviewing and and they're using cognitive behavioral techniques, and so it was a great presentation. It was a substance abuse provider. But I'll tell you that at the end of the presentation, when they opened it up to questions, that it did become clear that it appeared that my question, which I thought was a good one, can you tell us about your outcomes, that the question itself was quite off-putting.